Welcome to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, BA Geography 3rd year 5th semester. Now we are discussing about Unit 7 Population. This is Dr. D. Sabita, Assistant Professor, Department of Geoinformatics, Telangana University. Population. By the term population, we mean the accumulation of people or animals together who are living together continuously at one particular point. So, this accumulation of population can be continued or it can be living for longer period of time at one particular place. This is both addition of population and also decrease in population. So, this incontinuous population which is increased due to birth of new saplings or immigration of the human to that particular place, or it can be decrease in particular place population by death or the immigration of population to out of the area. The population basically require food, shelter and particular security for living in that particular place. So, over here human population are further affected by social customs, population and governing human population are further affected by social customs, governing reproduction and by the technological development, especially in the medicine and public health, that have reduced mortality and extended the lifespan of the people. So, few aspects of human society are as fundamental as size of the population, composition of the population and the rate of change of population. Such factors affect the social, economic, health, education and family structure of the place, which are added to that nothing but the crime rate, the language, culture, indeed virtually every aspect of human society is touched upon the population trends. The study of population is called as demography, a discipline with intellectual origin stretching back to 18th century, when it was first recognized that human mortality could be examined as a phenomena with statistical regularities. So, India is the world's 7th biggest nation by territory and the most populous nation. In the year 2017, the Indian economy was the world's third biggest. In the year 2017, the Indian economy was the world's third biggest by purchasing power parity. A population is the number of people living in that particular place, and we can't imagine world without population or people in world. So, India represents 17.85% of the world population, whereas it is only 2.2% of the land we are extended on the world. So, over here we can understand that every 6th person on the world living in India. So, with the population growth rate of 1.2% per every year, it is predicted that 1.53 billion people by the end of 2030 are going to be in India itself. Our population will contribute to our socio-economic structure and the diverse cultural scenarios. So, here we can see that population of India near to July 2025, it was 1.4 billion, whereas the growth rate of population here in the table we can see that it has been continuously increasing with 1.25 in 2014 to 0.81 in 2023. So, with this continuous increase in growth rate of population, also observes that it has been declining as though number of people are increasing, but the growth rate of people adding to the main population is decreasing. So here we can see that the decrease in growth rate has been started from 1.25 in 2014, gradually decreased to 1.19 in 2015, and as the time passes on, it has decreased below 1% in 2020, and it has been continuously decreasing to 0.81 in 2023. Further, same thing we can say that within this 9 years there was 0.157 billion people have been added to the Indian population. So further, when we see the country as it is in the world phenomena, so these are the different countries which are carrying the population and which are adding to the total population of the world, that is 8 billion. And here the China and India act as a major contributors to the world population. So the table shows that the brown is African countries and American countries are green, Asian countries are red. So whole of the ball is mostly covered by the Asian countries which are contributing most of the population. India accounts for 2.4% of the world surface area and 17% of the world population, and it is expected, or it has been said, that 2100 years from here, so 13% of growth rate of earth population will be India. That is 4.42% less than what we are observing now as 17% in 2013. Census of India 2011, the population of India was 1.2 billion, whereas the percentage decadal growth from 2001 to 2011 we can see is 17.7%. So which is a very sharp decline from the previous decadal growth, that is 3.84% lower than the 1991 to 2001. So this is the sharp decline we can see before and after the independence. So population of India had increased by 182.1 million during the decadal growth of 2001 to 2011, which is approximately equal to the population of Pakistan, the sixth most populous country in the world. The graph clearly shows that the population has been increasing from 1950s, and in 1970s the population increase has started very dramatically. Here the actual base of the population accumulation has started, and this base population further contributed, which has entered into the major reproductive age of the life, and this reproductive base has further increased the population above 2000. So after 2000, of course, the growth rate has decreased below 1, but the base reproduction population has resulted into maximum growth of the population. It is expected, as we have already said, that in 2050 the population is going to take its peak growth, and then till it becomes to the 2100, it is going to decline, as the curve shows that end of the 2100 we are going to see decline in the population. Characteristics of Indian population: more than 50% of current population are below 25 years of age, whereas 65% are below the age of 35. So this is the main working age population which is crucial for any country's development. At the same time, we can say that about 72% of the population are living in the villages or rural population, and at the same time 27% of them are living in towns and urban agglomerations. Here the most important factor we have to understand in increase in population is the birth rate, the childbirth per 1000 people per year. So it is 22.22, that is births per 1000 population, while the death rate is the 1000 per 1000 population, it is only 6.4 deaths. That means the difference between the growth is the increase in population by birth and also decrease in population, cutting down the birth rate, is nothing but your 17. What we have said already is the 17 is the growth rate, that is nothing but increased population is 22, cutting down from that deaths are 6. So from this elimination we get around 17% of the population which is added to the main population. So over here, every year India adds more people than other nations. So this is what we were trying to say, that is 17% of growth rate of India. So some of the countries are much less than India, whereas the most populous countries are the most populous states of the India are equivalent to the sum of the population of our world, that is Uttar Pradesh, which accounts as the most populous and with the growth rate of 16.16% is equivalent to Brazil. Stands the next is Maharashtra is 9.4% is equivalent to Mexico population, and Bihar, which acts as the third position with 8.7% is equivalent to Germany's population. And next comes the West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and henceforth. So over here, population of India, if we see the scenario from 1901 to 2011, the growth rate has been very tremendously increased after 1951. So after independence, the growth rate has increased, and at the same time we can see that in 1921 there was a minus or no growth rate below. The population was very much cut down. So there was no addition or less addition of people because of pandemics at that situation. So over a period of time from independence till now, the population has been continuously added, but at the same time if we compare the growth rate, which was very high in 1951, 61 and 71, it has started declining from 81 and 91. So once we check the table of population of India in 1901 to 2011, we can see that population has been continuously added, but here, 2021, the population has gone to minus. That means the growth of population was almost nil. So this addition of population, which was very less, this was basically. So when we look at the population of India from 1901 to 2011, we can see that the graph or the number of people added every year is increasing, but at the same time we can also observe that growth rate of the population is not increasing with the increasing years. That means the initial period the growth rate was very low because of health pandemics and other reasons, whereas as the technology and medical facilities increased near to the independence, the facilities have increased and the growth rate also increased. So over here we can see that in 1951 once again we can see downfall of population and growth rate has been decreased, whereas from 1951, 1961 and 1971 the population and the growth rate has been very tremendously increased, and this dynamic increase in the population continued till 2001. So this happens to be a minus in the growth rate, but because of the base which stands as 1971 to 1981 act as a base population which has entered into reproductive age, and the population started adding despite of decreasing growth rate. So over here we can see even though the growth rate is less, but the population is increasing at very high rate because of addition of reproductive age group. Once again, if we can see the characteristics of population, the characteristics of population we have to study under religious demographic studies, that is 2011 census says that the combination of all religions, when we come to see, we can observe that Hindus of the country happen to be very high, that is 79%, whereas Christians happen to be 2.3%, Muslims happen to be 14%, Sikhs are 1%, Jains are 0.3%, and Buddhists are 0.7%, and others are 0.6%, and others still we have which who are not stated or notified religions, they are 0.2%. Density of the population. This is the main important characteristic of the population which talks about the density. Density is nothing but number of people living in 1 square kilometer. So, in that 1 square kilometer, how many people are accommodated depends upon that. The facilities accommodated or available for them is very much understood. So, over here the most important thing is land capacity. So, carrying capacity of the land depends upon the density of the people. So, over here we can also see that many number of states in the country have the highest density of population until you have the Arunachal Pradesh and Northeast, where the people living over here per square kilometer is only 17, whereas in national capital territory of Delhi we have 11,000 people living per square kilometer. So this very much shows that how the exploitation of land and resources comes as the air and water are burdened. So, of course, from the table once again we can say that the density of population in 2011 and 2001, the ranking of different places have been done. This ranking is based on the growth of the people, and we can see that the same places of the country are continued to be standing in the same status as addition of population is accumulated in these places. This is because of some of the states of the country happen to be the economic zones, and some of them happen to be very weak economic zones where education is not proper and the population is added to them automatically. Whereas the urban countries or urban states, we have accumulation of population because of the employment facilities. So, over here we can see that overall India has 382 in 2011, whereas it was only 325 in 2001 census. Growth of population, as we have seen earlier that every year we are adding nearly 2 persons to the population per every 100. So, this is the largely influenced by 3 main factors like birth rate, death rate and migration of the people. So, population growth has 2 components, namely natural and induced population growth. Natural growth is by birth and induced is the migration of that place. So, over here if we have to talk about the birth rate, it is number of children per 1000 population, whereas death rate is number of people dying per 1000 people in a year. Over here we have to understand that growth rate is always studied with 100 in comparison, whereas rest of the population parameters are studied in comparison to 1000 people. So, over here the more people you have addition as a birth rate, then more population increase. At the same time, good facilities and medical availability will lead to the less death rate and the accumulation of people. So, it is both depends upon the birth rate and also death rate of particular country of developing or not developing. So, what is more noteworthy here that the birth rate in India is and has always been higher, and the death rate, which is major reason behind the growth of population. So, what is population pyramid? Over here we have to understand that the population at birth rate or initial period, people with 0 to 5, there is high birth rate, then the pyramid will be very high. So, as the people age, people tend to be eliminated due to death. So, as the population increases, or the deaths increase, the pyramid tend to become narrow as the age increases from 50, 60 and 100. And over here in the next thing you can see that the population increasing is very less, 0 to 5, whereas the base of the population is narrowed and the middle age, the reproductive age group are more strengthened. This pyramid shows that you have more people under reproduction, at the same time the people age group under working is very high. That means this country is going to be more developed nation, and the death rate is also minimized over here. That means medical facilities and other resources are very much available till the higher ages as you reach. This is the another pyramid which is having difficulties in maintaining the population, whereas you have the higher rate of old age people, which shows that insurances, medical facilities are further increasing, but the base of the population is very low. At the same time, we have to understand that the middle age group is not going to be maintained, as the base of the childhood people are going to come up to the reproductive age. So this is the where the population is going to decrease. So in the first graph you can see that base is more, the people are unable to live or take the lifespan to the higher ages, whereas here we have the interest of people is not much on having new population or childbirth, whereas the higher age people are having enough facilities to continue their life. So this is the modern technologies which are supporting the old age people to live longer, and it is also decreasing the interest of having newer generation into the society. So this is how we can say the graph is able to talk about the growth of population when it is estimated till 2100. If it is decreasing, the growth rate decreases. So this is the curve which is going to show the fall of population, decreasing population. If it is goes in the medium stagnant level, then the medium population increase of this much you can see, and if population is going to dynamically increase, then it is very high population which is going to be experienced. But as of now, with the current data, we can say that the population curve is going to decrease towards 2100. So regional variations in population growth. What are the regional variations because of which the population decreases? As we already know that the factors which encourage population growth are the carrying capacity of the land and also the medical facilities available to them. So carrying capacity depends upon the quality of soil, quality of water, quality of air and other facilities which will allow them to live there, have food and also expand. So over here, if the place is having not a good water supply or soil or supporting environment, then you tend to have a decreasing population. As India is a vast country with different climatic conditions, we can see variations in the growth rate in different states because of its location. So over here we can see that from 1991 to 2001, the Indian states and the growth rate of the population during 1991 and 2001 in Indian states and urban territory and union territories shows very obvious pattern. States like Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Pondicherry and Goa show low growth rate, that is below 20% over the decade. Whereas the states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Sikkim, Assam, West Bengal, Bihar, Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand show a very high growth rate of 20 to 25%. This is because of healthy water supply and soils which support them for agriculture and industries. Further, the sex ratio is an important factor which shows the social factors of the country. So over here, if we have a equal or supporting or encouraging sex ratio, that means that the state is supporting the gender equality. So India's sex ratio stands around 948, which is much less than 1000. As earlier we have said that every population is compared to the 1000. So here we can see only 948 female per 1000 males. So over here only 948 people are seen for 1000 males, which indicates that domination of one particular gender. So this very much shows the encouragement towards women growth or employment. India's sex ratio has always been on the lower side until recently. States like Kerala and Union Territories of Pondicherry have higher sex ratio than the major states. The sex ratio in the country has always remained unfavorable to female. It was 972 at the beginning of the 20th century and thereafter showed continuous decline until 1941. And when we see the table, we can easily find out that since 1951 the sex ratio has been decreased, but it was not so much as in 1971. You can see the number has really decreased further to -7. The growth rate, the difference between rural and urban, it is very much astonishing, where we can see that rural population is relatively more than the urban. So this is what the encouragement towards the female births is not at all found, and many of the urban states or urban places are observing the low female birth rates. That is because of the discouragement of female births. So as per census 11, gender ratio of India is 943 males per 1000 males. In rural and urban India, sex ratio has improved by number 3 and 29 respectively. In 1901, India has the highest sex ratio of 972, whereas it comes to the near to the 2011, it has decreased to 949. So at the same time, the most discouraging point, we can see that the same places where we have the highest population growth are seeing the lowest female births. Among states, Kerala has highest sex ratio of 1800 among states, Kerala has highest sex ratio of 1084 females to 1000 males, and Haryana has the lowest sex ratio of 879 females per 1000 males. Among Union Territories, Pondicherry has highest sex ratio of 1037 and Daman and Diu has the lowest sex ratio of 618. So another important factor or characteristic of population is age composition. Age composition, once again we have talked about that the composition of age is very important in characterizing and the evaluating the ability of the population or the country. So more people, if you see under working age group, then the productive age group of population is more, and we can see the development of the nation. And we have to concentrate on the policies where we have the highest populations. So once again, if we come to India, one of the most important characteristic of the population of India, the age composition determines the country's social and economic structure. The total population is broadly divided into 3 age groups: children below 15 years, working age group, that is 15 to 59 years, and senior age group, that is 59 years and above. So over here we can see that the Indian population is mostly covered till 50 years, and the lowest population you can find in the older age group. So base of India is more young, so many number of times country India is known as young nation. Literacy rate. Literacy rate once again shows the growth rate. The rate of growth is increased in the states where you have literacy of the state is less. So once again we can say that this is yet another important characteristic, and for the purpose of census, a person aged 7 and above who can both read and write with understanding in any language is treated as literate, but only knowing the reading and not writing is not taken it as a literate. So as per India, As per Indian census, it is 74%, 74% of Indian population are literate. So, illiteracy in India is mostly observed in the Mizoram, Kerala and Lakshadweep, where you have the highest literacy rate, and Kerala stands with the 100% or 93% of literacy rate, whereas same the Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and other states of Ganga belt happen to have a less literacy rates. So, there were many number of government policies which were taken up to increase the education policies and also increase the female education. So, there were some of the programs like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao is the latest initiative taken by Government of India to save and educate the girl in India. At the same time, many number of policies were taken up which were run door-to-door survey to examine overall literacy scenario in the districts. So, occupational structure depends upon the age group of the people. As India is young nation, we happen to have working people more. Migration is also important, which adds or decreases population of that place. So, you have population migrating from rural to urban, rural to rural, urban to urban and urban to rural based on the economic or social phenomena. So, further when we talk about the consequences of migration, as people move from one place to another, they tend to carry their economic status or add to the economic value of that place. Demographic consequences can be observed, social consequences and environmental consequences, as pressure on the new place increases as more and more population add to that particular place. Most of the male transfer from one place to another based on work. Basically, women move from one place to another based on their marital status. So, some of the drawbacks of migration is degradation of the place where they move and decrease of population in the base river. So, human development index is the very important factor wherein we have to understand the standard of living of that particular place. It is calculated using 4 indicators like life expectancy at birth, mean years of schooling, expected years of schooling and the gross national income per capita. So, all these things will tend to increase the quality of people living in that particular place. When comes to the India, ranked as 132 among 191 countries, and it is very medium stage country, whereas the neighboring countries of India like Sri Lanka, China, Bangladesh happen to be better off than India, whereas Myanmar, Pakistan, Nepal happen to be worst compared to Indian index of human resource. So, population problems, as we see number of problems like lack of quality of education, resources, social distress and may create a political instability in the region. So, we need to have a population policy, and India was the first country to announce a population policy in 1952. So, according to this, improving public health was the main important criteria. We also have 2000 national policy, in 2000 we have national population policy wherein number of criteria like reduction in mortality of live births and promotion delaying the marriage of girls. So, all these parameters have tend to increase the literacy and also development of the country. So, population, in conclusion, we can say that population studies, which happens to be started in medieval century, has become a very important study in all dimensions of the resource or the social development, like to complete or to plan the social and the economic resources of a place. One has to do a proper statistical and characteristic study of the population for better population understanding and better resource allocations. So, population is a wide subject which which requires to be studied under various headings of demography, sociology, psychology and resource management. Thank you.